The Airfix product launch 2025. What are we looking at and what am I interested in? Hey guys, it's model making time and today we're looking at Airfix's 2025 release. Just come out, very exciting. Now this video is not going to be looking at every single thing that they've released. You can go and look at their catalogue or go and watch their own video on that. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think are really interesting, some of the trends and the things that I'm really excited to seeing at shows. So I guess that's what we should get into. So the first thing we're going to look at is the Jaguar in 1/48 scale. This has been on the lips of many a modeler for, well, many a year, and I guess it's not surprising that Airfix have done it. There's been increasing amounts of hype building up to this, so I think a lot of people were expecting someone to do it, whether it was Airfix or another manufacturer, and I'm really glad that Airfix have done this. The kit looks absolutely stunning, and Airfix has said themselves this is one of, if not the best model they've done in terms of sort of the level of detail and just the crispness of this kit. And I'm really excited to see all the different schemes that we get for this. Now the 1/48 scale itself comes with a full array of armament, it seems, and the ability to have an early or late, I think it was the ejector seat. So there's a lot that can be built with this kit. Now this kit, they've said, is going to be out relatively soon, so fingers crossed we're going to start seeing this at models show sort of in the summer, I imagine. The Jaguar is such a beautiful kit, or a beautiful aircraft should I say, that I think it's going to be really interesting to see what people do with this. Obviously there's only actually left service with some of the international users not that long ago, but obviously it was in service with France, the RAF within Britain, and it was also in service in India, and I think Oman also had some, and they were, I think, the last operator of the type. So very poignant to bring this out, I guess, and I'm really excited to see it. What we also got with this as well is a 1/72 release. That's not a new tooling, sadly, but it is the vintage classic kit, and it's at, I think it was like $12.99. I'll pick the price up if I've got that wrong, which is a reasonable price for what sort of kit it is. It's also got the best artwork I think the Jaguar has ever had from any manufacturer. It's an iconic artwork from Airfix, so I'm really excited to see this release as well. I'm hoping it'll bring a lot of people in because it's just such a stunning piece of art, and they've referenced that artwork on their 2025 catalogue as well, which, I mean, I don't really do catalogues anymore, but it looks really cool. The second thing I guess we want to talk about today is helicopters. Now Airfix for a long time has felt like kind of just an, well, like when I say aircraft, I mean like planes, but also tanks and cars. And it's kind of just been within that realm for quite a while. If we go back to sort of the 70s, 80s, 90s and 2000s, it was much more than that. It was space, it was helicopters, aircraft, planes, boats, it was everything. And even some other things that I'm doing a video on eventually for my 5K special. But that's not been the case for quite a while, and I think helicopters has been something that a lot of people have been asking for, and we started seeing that last year with the Chinook, which got absolutely wonderful praise. I've not really heard a single bad thing about it, and that's had another release this year. What's also been released this year is a vintage classics version of the Puma. I'm really excited to see that. I think Hella have a version of this kit as well. I think they also have the Super Puma. Not sure if they have the OG version. The box art for this again is much older. It looks really nice. This will be a really lovely kit for people to have because it's inexpensive too. Obviously we would love to see a more modern version, but that's probably not going to happen. I'm still hoping that we're going to get a sort of a starter set version of the Westland Lynx at some point though, especially since that's returned to the airshow circuit recently. What we also get this year is a release of the Westland Wessex. This is a brand new 1/72 scale tool. People have already started saying that they think this is going to end up being a 1/48 scale tooling, and we know that this is going to get re-released in a number of colours, as the Sea King has done before it, which is standard practice for Airfix anyway. But this kit also looks absolutely stunning. I cannot wait to build this. This is actually the thing that I have pre-ordered. So yeah, really excited to get a hold of this kit. I haven't built my Chinook yet. It's just not been on the cards over the last year, but I'm maybe thinking I build the Chinook and the Wessex together, have a bit of a helicopter vibes month one time. We'll see. I guess the third thing we're going to talk about is related to the helicopters, which is that Airfix have expanded once more. They've taken a step into space, which is a return for them. They've done space previously, but a lot of these kits have not been available for a very long time. Prices have increased, well, on and on and on, to the point where they're kind of in the stars and out of reach for most people. Now we've got them released by Airfix again. They're not under the Vintage Classic tooling, they're under sort of the Airfix Space sort of brand, it looks like, on their box, which I think looks really cute. So these all look really nice, sort of seeing them around. And I think space has been really massively neglected, so it's nice to see that. We haven't had the birds and the dinosaurs back from Airfix yet, and I definitely want those to be re-released, so I'm hoping that they're going to come in the next year or two. Airfix, I am expecting this at this point. Please, for the love of God, re-release the birds. They are so expensive and I really want the woodpecker. But yeah, seeing space is really exciting. They've also done a brand new tooling too, which is of the Artemis. They said sort of in the stream that they worked with NASA, as in like they did their tooling, sent it over, or sent the design over at least, not the actual tooling, to NASA. They approved it and then they've gone to production with it, which is really exciting. It means hopefully it's going to be quite an accurate model. I know nothing about space, so I have no authority to talk about this, but I'm really excited to go and watch other people's videos of this when this thing actually drops and see how they build it. Apparently some of the space models, I don't know if it was all of them, but they're going to be molded in white plastic so that people can just build them. As someone who's recently built a giant white aircraft, Concorde, I promise a video for that is coming soon. I can agree that doing white plastic is definitely the right call, because it just makes it a lot easier if it's someone who's less experienced or less confident. So really excited to see this when it comes. We're going to talk about a couple of ground vehicles now. Firstly, we've got the Stalwart. This is the new tool of sort of the ground releases for Airfix this year. This is a 1/35th scale, and again, I don't really know a lot about ground stuff, so I'm not going to pretend like, oh my god, it's so accurate, because I don't know that. The reaction from the other people I was on the live stream reacting to the release to seemed really positive. Everyone seems really on board with this release, that it's really good value for money, that it's a really interesting release because there's a lot of like options you can do with it. So this seems to have gone down really well. I'm sure we're going to see loads of these around, because when they did their releases last year, so many of them were around with the Ferret, and that's something that I assume we're going to see more of with the Stalwart as well. It seems like Airfix's 1/35th scale range is really coming leaps and bounds. They've also done a load of 1/76 scale releases, a load of old Land Rover toolings and sort of variants of sort of the vehicles that were around that era. I'm not sure why this has suddenly been released. They've had these toolings for quite a while. I remember I went to a model show with Moz in Bovington, and they got one of the like tools from before when Airfix owned them, and was really excited by that. So seeing them release it again, interesting choice. I'm not against it, because it's going to make dioramas so much easier for people, and I guess for people who are doing train things as well, it's another thing that they can use for sort of scenery. So I think this is a really nice release. It's interesting. Not one I expected, to be honest, with the Jeeps, but yeah, I'm interested to see what people do with them. The next thing we're looking at is continuing their variation, but with boats. So there's a lot of boats, and I'm going to use boats and ships interchangeably because I know nothing about the ocean, so just be nice to me. But they've released the RAF rescue boat, the Vosper, and a German e-boat. It's really cool to see these come back. These are things that were like starting to hike up the prices on eBay. I do have one of these. I think I also have a Revell releasing of something. Not entirely sure, but these look like really cool releases. I'm sure that this is going to end up being a Christmas present for Mr. Modeler, because they love doing boats and ships, whereas I've not really done one before, so maybe I'm going to have to get some things so that I can do them, because it's way less scary to do it on a Vintage Classic than it is to do it on a boxing that you never know if you're going to be able to get ever again. So this is definitely making it more accessible to people. These are also subjects that are just really interesting. I did ask Dale when they were on the stream with us whether or not this was planned because of the success of the sort of the lifeboat last year, or whether this was just a coincidence that the lifeboat did way better than they expected and they were already planning to release these. And it turns out they were already planning to release these, as you can see here. Right, so This year's feels a lot more diverse than it has done in previous years, which I guess seemed to start last year with the lifeboats reintroduction and the new starter set. Has that been because, I know some things obviously have been in development longer, but is that because of what happened last year and how successful things like the lifeboat were that you've, say, introduced more boats in Vintage Classic this year, or is it just coincidence that it ended up working out so well?
So that stuff was already planned, those 3 reintroductions in the Vintage Classic ski range, that was already planned. When the lifeboats, either of them, were actually launched and we knew the sales numbers, then work was already well underway with bringing these back, and any of it, to be honest. We are trying to diverse the range as much as possible. And a bit like the 3 space products that we're putting in the range. Initially, we were going to put them in as Vintage Classics, the 2 older toolings, in that sort of banner and everything. But after sitting down and doing quite a lot of insight work, we realised that actually the biggest potential for space, we believe, and the data came back, that the biggest potential for space was to wrap it up more of a gift set. So then we can talk to a new audience. We can talk to those retailers that would take gift sets over anything else. They're priced accordingly as well. So there's certainly there's a lot of different thinking going on behind our reasoning. But yeah, space is an interesting one where we didn't make a U-turn, but we certainly changed the path of what those 3 things would look like. And actually, we were late to this call because we were talking about space packaging, weren't we? So we're looking at, instead of that just being launched in a red box with the normal new logo and bits and pieces, we're actually looking at ways that we can adapt that packaging to make it more suitable for the intended audience, but still Airfix of it.
I'm 100% taking diversification, meaning that birds and dinos next year.
You never know, Lexi. You never know.
There's a couple of re-releases this year as well. This is kind of standard for Airfix. So for example, the Gannett's got another boxing, this time in sort of the carrier version. And they've also done sort of reboxings of things like the HE111. They've done a reboxing or re-release, reintroduction, I think they call it, of the Handley Page Victor in K2, which last came out, I think, in 2019. So there's a lot of things that have been reintroduced to the range as well. Some things have been reintroduced with new parts, like the ME410. The final thing we're going to talk about is what's coming this year. And by that, I mean, there's still things that haven't actually come out yet that were announced last year. We've got the Lysander, which is in 1/48 scale, that was announced last year at Telford. We knew that was going to be a later release anyway. That's classed as like winter 24-25, so that's like expected. But the Typhoon was announced this time last year, and that's still not out, as in the Eurofighter Typhoon starter set. That's now expected, I think they said April. So it's kind of a 2025 release at this point. Interesting that it's not yet out, but you know, stuff happens. They've said it, they've had a lot of issues with shipment, unfortunately, so it is what it is. But I guess it's another release for this year, unofficially kind of. So a lot of really interesting developments. I'm not going to go through all of them. I think you should head over to the Airfix website. But if you do head over, use the link in my description because it gives a little kickback to me, which helps support the channel and help keep me going. But overall, I think Airfix, you did absolutely stunning this year. I think this is better than last year, even though there's less I'm excited to build, but that's because I am quite limited in what I build, and also I've planned out most of my content for the year, so it's not really because of what you've actually released. I am looking to get the Fokker Eindecker, that's a re-release, I know, and also I'm getting the Wessex, as I've already said, I've already pre-ordered that. I'm also excited to get the Typhoon, and I guess that about wraps up my thoughts for this release by Airfix this year. Obviously, if you want to go see the full range, there's a lot of things that are just reintroductions or just some additional parts, as I've just mentioned. Go and use the link in my description. I guess a little bit kickback to the channel if you do decide to purchase anything, which obviously helps keep the channel going and supports me buying weird and wonderful things to build. And obviously make sure you're subscribed to the channel as well so you can be kept up to date with the latest and greatest videos. If you want to join a lovely community of model makers, make sure to join the Discord. The link is in the description below. Doing so, you can chat to a load of other creative and lovely individuals who will happily help you on your modeling journey. If you want to support the channel further, make sure to become a channel member. There's 2 different levels. The only difference is advanced kit level members get shouted out at the end of each video, but it would just help, again, support the channel and keep it going. I couldn't do any of this without any of you guys, so whether you're a member or you're just subscribed to the channel, I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! Thank you so much to all of my channel members. Whether you're a starter kit or advanced kit level member, you help keep this channel alive. A special shout out goes to my advanced kit level members, including Dafty Duck, Buff and Genevieve Albridge, David Barber, Taggers365, Jeff's Dioramas, Iron Duke, and my longest time subscribers, or at least at this tier, Explosive Water and Crazy Loacher. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here today, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and there's a recommended video here just for you, so why don't you go check it out? Come on, let's go.